Hey everybody, Jacob here with Ground Zero, welcoming you to the current now, whatever episode of the 0 Hour Podcast brought to you by Ground Zero. What are we going to talk about today? So, Nick, Jim, a couple of other our friends were up in Stillwater at the SQ at HQ event. Kind of a new SQ competition slash get together slash, whatever we want to call it, car show, who's it. And he just went up to have some fun. And so Nick and I are going to talk about that, and then we're going to transition into really kind of something that we've hit on before. You've seen Nick talk about it here recently, but the 30th anniversary edition equipment from Ground Zero, why it's cool, why it's important, and really what the thought process is behind it. So stick with us. Let's have some fun, and we'll see you in a minute. Be right back. Nick, okay, so here you are traveling yet again. One of these days, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to make you stay home, but where were you this past week? I know, right? But I feel like you sign up for it. I feel like it's all self-inflicted wounds at this point.
It is.
Where were you and why?
Stillwater, Oklahoma, Kicker World Headquarters, which is a really cool place that if you are involved in car audio, being a Kicker dealer or not, it does not matter. Make the trek. They've got a museum that is worth seeing. There's some of the stuff back from the 80s and the 90s that is there. It's way cool. But they were having a multi-event slash call it car show, truck show, demonstration, SPL demonstration slash SQ event with different organizations there. Basically, just come and hang out and have a good time. Listen to some really cool cars. And oh, yeah, by the way, if you want to participate and compete, fine, great. If not, nobody cared. It was basically, we're going to celebrate the industry. And it was way cool. Had a great time. Got to see some people I haven't seen in a long time. So it was well worth the trek.
Nice. Well, and I don't want to say your backyard because, Texas is a gigantic state, but
Seven and a
next
half
right
hours.
right next door to you, right
Yeah, right next door.
just right there.
Yep.
So obviously competing manufacturer, but it wasn't just us and Kicker though. I mean, it
No.
was open to everybody, open to manufacturers, open to the public. You had mentioned a car show, which if you paid attention, for those watching, why are car shows important? We kind of talked about that last month. So it's cool to maybe see some of this important thing happening here.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the second year Kickers put it on. It grew this year. There were more cars, more attendees. The general public was invited. There was a lot of people wandering around looking at everything. And they're going to do it again next year. And I'm really glad to see them do it because, you know, Kicker has been a big part of this industry, let's face it, since inception back in the early 70s. And if they think this is important, it probably is because, Kicker doesn't do anything halfway. They never
Right.
have. And I don't think they ever will, not as long as Mr. Irby's there. And they see value, they see the importance. They know that uh, us being the industry, being able to put the product in front of the end user, which is what this really and truly was all about. Yeah, they get it, they understand it, and they do it really well.
And like you said, like we kind of talked about, it's an industry wide thing.
Yeah,
This isn't them just advertising and showing off to the public. This is our industry. This is what we do. Come see everybody who wants to support it. And to me, that's a big thing. Competition wise, we had a couple of cars that are friends of ours that competed. What was the competition scene like there? How stacked were the classes? How How busy were the governing bodies? Like, what did it look like from a competition standpoint?
They had invited, if I remember correctly, about um 30 cars were invited, quote unquote. There were two classes that Kicker helped put together. One was basically past winners, world champion, winners of IASCA, USAC, Emma, whatever it might be here in the United States. There were 10 cars invited, seven showed up in that particular class, and then there were 20. There were invitees from, let's just say, they had done extremely well in the lower classes, such as amateur or pro amateur, or even in what is known as Pro 1 in IASCA. Those cars were in a top 20 money round all to themselves. And there were a lot of really good cars there. There were some older competitors from the past that showed up. They have new builds. They competed, did well. But, it was interesting in that so many different organizations were there. Also, IASCA, Emma, MASQ, ICA, MCA, they were all there, and they were most everybody was competing in all of the organizations. And you got a general, real, very good idea about where you stood as far as where you were landing in your particular lane with each organization versus other organizations and other judges, because you know when you're having the ability to have a dozen judges get in your car and give you their opinion, you're going to have a really good idea at the end of the day of that. Number one, this is what I got to do to make myself better, or number two, I need to leave this alone. You know, because everybody in this hobby has a nasty habit of trying to do too much.
Yeah. Or you do too long, you end
Yeah,
up ruining it, and then you're starting over the next day when you've got a fresh set of ears going, what did I do? What was I thinking?
yeah, and it was interesting to say the least. Some vehicles ended up dead last in their class in one organization, and were second or third in another organization. So you go figure.
Right.
Um, but it also is, I think, it's indicative of how some organizations want to emphasize one part of sound quality versus another part of sound quality. I have a distinct problem with it. I don't mind telling you. But that's part of the game, and you have to learn to play the game. And if you don't want to play the game, don't show up.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. But yeah, I think more than anything, this show brought basically probably about 60% of the really serious people who want to do well, who want to win, who want to get on stage. They were probably 60% of everything. Everybody in the United States was probably at this event. And there were some outstanding vehicles there. I got a chance to listen to a lot of them, several new builds. A couple of them that we had talked about at Axpana, they were there. They've done a little bit more to their cars. Really, just an outstanding day Saturday. It really was.
Nice. So it was just a was it a 1 day event?
Yep, one day event started at basically 8 o'clock and ended at about 5.
Perfect.
It was, and wind blew. Uh, it kept the temperatures down. Thank goodness. Uh, because it was warm on Kicker's parking lot. Let me tell you, it was. I being from Texas, I'm used to the heat, but I'm not. I'm not one of these people like I'm going to tough it out. Nah, I'm going to go find the shade. Thank you.
I'm gonna demo a car a whole heck of a lot and turn on some air conditioning.
And that's what we did. The cars
Right.
ran, the air conditioners were going, and we demoed the cars. I don't know. I don't probably 50 times during
Nice.
the day. Oh yeah, absolutely.
So definitely worth not just your time and going, not just our time and going, but anybody who feels that this industry needs to thrive, it was worth it for them to be there.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. If you talk to the rank and file that were there from Kicker, they'll tell you this was definitely worth doing, and I feel quite certain they will do it again next year.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
Looking forward to it. Maybe I'll swing down next year and annoy you in person. But I know, right? It's so
you
much
should.
fun. Yeah,
It really
absolutely.
we really actually really did have a very good time.
Well, and that's all, if every year it keeps getting better, just like what we imagine and hope, everything does, which some do, some don't. But
Yeah.
if this is something that we can help everybody understand, like, let's all get behind this. This is our thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is our world. This isn't, just some SQ event. This is all the
Oh
things.
no.
Then cool. No, man, I'm glad you had fun. Um, that being said, I'm going to change gears here when we come back because I know you had talked about this stuff previously. I know you probably talked about it this weekend, but I want to cover some gear with you and talk about some of the reasons why you feel it's important, some of the reasons why I feel it's important, and to hopefully get some viewers out there to kind of go, oh, now I understand a little bit more why they do stuff like this. So when we come back, 30th anniversary gear, stick around. All right, Nick, we know you love uber high end. We've talked at links about Ultra, we've talked at links about reference,
Yeah.
but there's something about anniversary equipment that kind of makes us all happy. Usually you see either uber crazy, high end unobtainium type product in an anniversary system, or something that's packaged together and you really only want one piece, but they're going to make you buy all of it. Ground Zero doesn't do that. In the almost 10 years I've been working with the company, we've played with a couple of anniversary parts, and it's completely obtainium product. It's everyday product, maybe plus. So that being said, I want to kind of talk about it per product. I know you broke it down in a couple of videos a little bit ago. And you've now gotten some experience with some of the gear, and I know you're going to be getting experience with more of it soon. Components. The components are kind of a weird one, but it's very typical Ground Zero. It's essentially a hydrogen mid base, which is, for all intent and purposes, one of your favorite,
Absolutely. For dollar, absolutely.
and a nuclear tweeter. So
Yeah. Same thing.
the logical step up in kind of an everyday component hydrogen plus style build. Talk to me about the mid base driver, because it floored me when you want to sit here and talk about this sub $500 mid base driver per pair. Like, talk to me about
Yeah.
this.
Well, one of the things that over the years that has always fascinated me and intrigued me about using a bass driver or a mid bass driver, however you want to call it, is that for me, the most realistic sound of either a stand up bass or a kick drum or something along those lines is a mid bass driver that uses a paper multiple layers of paper. And that's what this driver is. Cast basket, really nice former, really nice voice coil structure, yada yada yada. You would expect nothing less from Ground Zero, but it's what it sounds like. It has texture and instruments that you normally don't hear in a speaker unless it is three times the price. I'll just give you, for instance, 6.5 inch two-way I have here at home. I built a home cabinet utilizing the hydrogen two-way, and I hear rosin on the strings of a bow, or I will also hear the strike of the pedal as it hits the kick drum. and then you hear the release. That is something you don't normally hear unless it's a multi-thousand-dollar set of speakers, home or car, doesn't matter.
Right.
This speaker does it. This mid bass driver does this, and it amazes me how the upper mid range, let's call it 800 hertz to 2.5K, a female vocal sounds natural. It does not have any bloat to it or nastiness to it, or I don't hear anything out of the ordinary with it that would cause me to go, I don't know, maybe this just needs to be a dedicated three-way, used just as a mid-bass driver. That is not the case with this. It's really obvious to me that there is a ton of engineering that went on into the making of this very, very, very good mid-bass driver.
And then you take this very, very good mid bass driver and pair it with the nuclear tweeter,
Yeah.
which after you've really had a chance to play with Jesse's Acura, which we've taken to a couple of shows, that tweeter is absolutely incredible
Yeah,
for
for any price point, it doesn't matter. It's very, very good. It has I don't want to describe it. There are things that in the upper higher frequencies, let's say 8,000 hertz and up, that normally sometimes a dome tweeter will break up because it's trying to recreate 8K or it's trying to recreate 3K and 2K at the same time. And really, a dome tweeter is not designed very, very well. They literally will try and run into each other. That's like I call it. And you can hear it, cone breakup. It just won't do it. This is not that case. This tweeter is extremely articulate. It's extremely revealing, and it's not uber expensive.
yeah. So
So
you kind of get that best of both worlds without breaking the bank in a
yeah,
two-way component set
yeah.
that
I mean, it's amazing. It
just
really
happens
is,
that just happens to work really well as a two-way component.
and it does
Not
absolutely.
not saying you can't add a mid-range, not saying you can't
Nope,
make it a three-way, but
nope.
in those OEM style applications where you might not have room for a three, this is
It'll work.
probably one of the best, most versatile, affordable plus type speaker sets that we've really played with. And that's what
Yeah,
they did it with the 25th anniversary. I mean, they did it with a radioactive mid bass driver and the at the time new uranium tweeter. Now we're looking at the hydrogen mid bass and a nuclear tweeter. So it's really cool to see them again do something that's not $4,000 and isn't going. It's not. I wouldn't mind taking the set of components and actually putting it in the car, not just
oh,
putting it on the shelf
absolutely.
with
Yep,
all of the other saver items.
sure.
So subs. I want to talk about subs next because I know that we're going to talk about amps, and I know that amps are going to be a thing. So
Mhm.
let's talk about the subs because the sub, but there is another one coming. The 12 is really cool because it's essentially again a hydrogen plus, but it's guinea pigging the industry. So it's getting people's feet wet on what is to come, which again is kind of a cool thing that Ground Zero does. Super clean, super versatile, super accurate. You haven't had a chance to play with one yet, but I know that something is on the way that you will get to want to play with, and we'll talk about that at a later date. But I now want to get to amps. I want to skip really subs. I just wanted to say, hey, subs are cool, subs are fun, subs are prototypey and guinea piggy.
Yeah,
Amps.
yeah, huh. Yes, sir.
This series of amps, loosely based, highly modified versions of uranium.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me. Tell me in ways that I will understand why this is important.
Well, um, I think that when we're looking at, and again, you have to look at the price points. I mean, you just have to. When you look at the price points on this amplifier, and you look at the size, you look at build quality, You realize that there's no preamp in this whatsoever except gain and the bias adjustment. This amplifier screams, "I'm special. You need to pay attention." And then when you get a chance to listen to one, you realize that this is not a uranium amplifier that has had the preamp pulled out of it and they just said, "Oh, it's the 30th anniversary." No, that is not the case. Somebody has designed this thing from the ground floor up. I will bet yeah, I'll bet money on it. It throws a bigger, deeper, wider soundstage than a standard uranium, which I have heard ad nauseum. They have a very, very, very neutral sound. I mean, whatever goes in comes out. And that's something that you don't normally hear from an amp at this price point. And this 4 channel is just, it's amazing. Quality parts, they up the parts complement on it substantially. If this is not 100, quote unquote, if this isn't 160 watts a channel, I'm going to beg to differ, even though it's not supposed to be. This amp is conservatively rated. I would be willing to bet you the stereo separation is over 110 dB. I'm willing to bet the signal to noise ratio is above 115 dB because of the dynamic swings that I hear. And I'm not talking about playing stupid loud. I mean, like micro dynamics, like listening to the felt on the bottom of the pedals of the piano when Diana Krall is playing music, or you hear the valves opening and closing on a trumpet, or you can hear every single solitary word that a choir is singing, and you know there's more than 100 people in the choir because it throws such a huge soundstage that when your system's tuned correctly, the choir is above the soundstage and it's on the hood of your car. That's the kind of things this amplifier can do. When you have again, when everything's tuned right, it's amazing. Um, yeah. And I can tell you that a mutual friend of ours wants 5 of them.
For a Cadillac.
Yeah, for a certain Cadillac. Yeah,
And
that's what he wants to use.
and that's the thing is, and we keep commenting on for an amp of this price range. Um,
Yeah.
this isn't an expensive amplifier.
No.
So and again, I'm not trying to be like, oh, by normal people standards, it's extremely no, this is still an everyday amplifier. So yeah, okay, you're building a full three-way build. You're going SQ plus SQ fun. This would still be a great tweeter mid-range amplifier in pairing with a standard uranium or even an iridium on your mid bass and or sub, because again,
Yeah,
the bulk of the
absolutely.
system is your mid-range in a three-way.
80% of the music.
Your tweeter, you're going to run full bias because you don't need any power for it. So
Nope.
run that thing full tilt, have fun. But again, we're still talking about something that an average everyday sub $5,000 build could
Oh,
realistically look at.
yeah, sure.
And it
You
doesn't
could
need to
have,
be paired with, crazy. It doesn't need to be paired with ultra or reference. It can, dude,
oh,
it
no.
can.
Well, absolutely it can, but if you take uranium amps and uranium speakers, for goodness sake, or even nuclear, hell, hydrogen.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean, it's that good in that you can, yeah, sure, you can put it on ultras. Yeah, absolutely, no question. But, when you think about the variety of speakers that, especially in nuclear, that we have, and you look at what the amplifier is capable of doing, you realize that, I could take two of these 4 channels, bridge one of the amps to 3 channels, put one on the mid range and the tweeters, whatever you want. You could take another one and put it on the mid bass drivers, bridge channels 3 and 4 on the other amplifier, and put it on a pretty efficient sub. such as a plutonium, vented, tunage, 25 hertz, and you'd have a hellacious system on your hands.
That sounds like a
And
lot of personal experience there, Nick.
well, yeah, because it's exactly what I have in my own personal vehicle. I don't have the 30th anniversaries, but I can tell you, I would have no problem putting this amp on the reference three-way I have and the plutonium sub and call it a day. It's that good. It really is.
It's going to take
And
everything and just level it up one or
yeah,
two.
yeah, or two. Like I said, the amplifier is above its pay grade in how it operates and how it sounds. It really
I
is.
I think I'm going to let my personal nonsense come out for a second.
Mm.
I feel like a lot of the industry has forgotten the importance of the amplifier.
Oh,
They've put
you
a lot
said
of
it.
emphasis. They've put a lot of emphasis on speakers or on DSP or on source. And don't get me wrong, every one of those things is absolutely important.
Yep.
But the amplifier is the thing that makes it all work. So yeah, you can build in amps to DSPs and they can be good, they can be great. You can run affordable class Ds or extremely high end class Ds. I mean, there's a lot of phenomenal amps out there,
Yeah,
but
there is.
they're not what we're talking about.
No.
And to get what we're talking about without breaking the bank the way that we're talking about it almost makes me wonder why we aren't seeing more thought process like this, like we used to back in the day. Hate to say it, but we have phenomenal gear out there that will make or break. Well, it'll make any system arguably that much better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I don't want to say forgotten about, but I still feel like it's somewhat forgotten about. I mean, just great amps.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of great designs. There's a lot of great amplifiers out there. But when we're talking the size of these amplifiers, being Class A, B, and we can slide the bias almost 100% Class A with no preamp to get in the way, and the price point has to be brought into play. That makes this very, very special. And I agree with you in that an awful lot of people have forgotten, how important the amplification of the signal is. I mean, we can have the best head unit, you can have the best DSP, you can have great speakers, but if you've got a mediocre amplifier, you have a mediocre system. I'm sorry, because the mediocre amplifier is going to amplify great signal, but if it's not as good as what's down the pipe in front of it, there's an old adage: your system is only as good as its weakest link. Well, guess what? You're listening to it. There's your weakest link. And for many, many, many years, I've been complaining about hearing Class G amplification running through tweeters that has no business running Class D signal through them because their filters are terrible and they don't understand how to do it. And it's harsh and nasty and sounds like you know what. And they're charging three times the price that they should be charging for that amplifier. And yeah, and people say, well, what's wrong? That sounds terrible. Yeah, sure does, doesn't it? Why is that? It's because of that trash amplifier you're running. Yeah, but that amp's $900. I don't give a rat's rear end if it's $9,000. It's not a great design. You're going to spend 3 grand on this head unit DSP combination piece right here. You're going to spend $3,400 on a three-way. Why are you spending X amount of dollars on a multi-channel Class D amplifier? So it what fits underneath your seat? That defeats the purpose of having great equipment, in my opinion. and that's reason why this design means everything in the world to me, because we've got something that nobody else has. I don't know of anybody that builds anything like this right now at that size, at this performance level, at this price point.
It's almost like Ground Zero knows what they're doing.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
mm,
other than the fact that they deal with me.
mm. That's all right. They got Gordon Taylor working for them, so yeah.
Right. Makes up for it, I guess.
Yeah, it makes up for it.
Well, Nick, I wanted to thank you. All the years we've worked together, you've always been able to help me understand why.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I can rattle off, oh, it's triple Darlington, it's this and that, and I know why it works. But what does that translate to? I don't have the ears that you do. So it's always fun to be able to go, okay, why is this special? I know it's special.
Oh, it
Explain
is.
to me why in a way that people can understand, and you don't have to be uber techie. And I think that's why, that's why things like this amp excite me, is because, again, I know it's special. You hear that it's special. We put those together, and now we've got something really fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So again, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And I'll probably bug you on the next episode of this thing. So stay tuned. I'll be right back. And there you have it. We are rounding out another episode of the 0 Hour Podcast, brought to you by Ground Zero. Thank you to Nick, who, like I said, I mean, it's always fun to have him on this, because just being able to ask him a question and get an answer that I can relate to is 100% the most important thing in this industry. He's not going to rattle off some tech spec and go, well, you should know what this means. This is what I hear. This is what I feel. This is how it makes me, how it triggers something in my brain to tell me something else. So, it's great to talk to him about events. So SQ at HQ was a phenomenal event for the industry. Manufacturers coming together, governing bodies of competition coming together, appealing to the public, appealing to each other to try and be able to say, look, this industry needs to kick it into gear. So it's always fun to see that stuff develop. And then really the rest, the second block of the time was talking about cool gear and things that Ground Zero is doing differently, and why that's important, and why it's fun, and the fact that this is something that the general public can get their hands on and enjoy, and be able to feel music again. What are we doing? We're selling emotion. We're selling fun. We're talking about the things that make us all smile. So thank you guys for joining me. Stick around for the next episode in a month or so. We'll be back talking about who knows what at the time. Subscribe to us on all the socials, the Ground Zero USA, and we'll see you on the next one.